That's the sound of the police. That's the sound of the beast.
Order in the court. Order in the court.
Unpacking
All right.
Brian's guilty plea.
Now we're going to go on to unpacking Brian Kohbergers' plea deal to avoid the death penalty in the Idaho student killings. I saw my tongue tied. All right. This was titled July 3rd, 2025. We're up to date. Okay, CNN. Brian Kohberger appeared expressionless as a judge asked if he murdered 4 college students in their off-campus home, answering yes to each name called out in the courtroom. At a change of plea hearing before State District John Stephen Hippler in Boise, Idaho, the courtroom was packed with family members of the victims as Kohberger, a 30-year-old former PhD student of criminology, admitted his guilt to all counts, 5 counts in the indictment, and entered a plea deal that removes the possibility of the death penalty. So, to the naysayers, admitted his guilt. It says it here. Okay. Kohberger had been charged with 4 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of burglary in Latah County, Idaho, and the fatal stabbings: Ethan Chapin, 20, Kaylee Guncase, 21, Zayna Noodle, 20, and Madison Mogan, 21. The ages of these babies was 20 to 21. This person is 30 years old today. 3 years ago, he was 27. They would have been 24. There still would have been a vast age gap. Don't I talk to y'all about age? Like, I don't know why age is so significant for me, but people always be like, oh, girl, you ain't that old. Oh, girl. Let me tell y'all something. The person that I am today in my 40s is not the person that I was in my 20s, okay? Shanice in her 20s was doing Shanice in her 20s things. Shanice in her 40s is doing Shanice in her 40s things. These kids was in their 20s. They was living their life like it's golden. He was in the PhD, but he was a nerd. He was an introvert. He was a former drug addict. All that has been found out about this man. All of it. Okay? CNN trial correspondent Gene Chevarez has been closely following the investigation and was in court when Kohberger admitted guilt. Some of the questions and answers have been edited for length and clarity. Question: why did prosecutors decide to strike a plea deal now, despite strong evidence including DNA surveillance and cell phone data? I think one of the biggest unanswered questions, we don't know. Here's what we do know. Prosecutors hold the key to whether a trial goes toward or whether there is a plea deal. This was a very solid case, and the defense had lost so much. They were not going to be able to present an alibi because they couldn't establish there was anyone who saw him in another location when the killings took place. I was talking to a prosecutor who told me this case is the case of a lifetime for a prosecutor, but this trial was going to cost a lot of money. This is Moscow's case. Latah County would have to pay for it all. The case had been moved to Boise to ensure a fair trial for Kohberger, so one can only surmise that judicial economy or saving money went into this, right? What do you think tipped the scales towards avoiding the death penalty for both the defense and prosecution? This was the only bargaining tool. They bargained away the death penalty when he agreed to serve life in prison without any possibilities of parole, which means that he's away from society because he is a danger to society. And that's what this is about. He's a danger. Ted was a danger. Okay? Son of Sam was a danger. Okay? In 2003, serial killer Gary Ridgway bargained the death penalty, but there were conditions. He was going to tell authorities where all of the other victims were that he killed, and he did that. Here, there are no conditions. Without a trial, there's no public adjudication of any motive. How does that impact any closure in this case for the families and the public? First of all, let me tell the public something. Y'all want to hang out with him, y'all go to the jail with him, okay? Because I don't want him out. I don't want him out. They lock a black man up just if he look at somebody wrong, if he have a nickel bag of weed. I don't want him out. Hold his ass. Don't let him go, okay? And I said it. If you're mad, oh well. Okay. One of the issues with several of the families is that this was just too easy, that he was going to be able to sign the dotted line. Done deal, then he can live his life forever. And his mind is already damaged and tormented. So honestly and truly, with a demon like that, there ain't much you can do. He going to hell to see his daddy. Okay? They wanted answers. They wanted to know if anybody else knew about it, where the murder weapon came from, why he went to that particular house, why he went up to the 3rd floor. And these questions conceivably would never be answered. Yeah, but some of it was already researched because he was watching them. He had eyes on them. They were very vibrant girls. Like, people are forgetting the fact that they were vibrant. They were popular. The house was popular. It was a party house. Okay? It was a party house. Remember Carrie? They all gonna laugh at you. They all gonna laugh at you. It was a party house. Remember when we was growing up, how they would do the movies about the popular kids and the regular kids? Them people lived like that. It was a party house. That's why everybody's trying to go be like people they ain't like. He was out there. Envy and jealousy played a major role in this. Envy and jealousy. Ethan was cute. The girls were blonde and beautiful and vivacious. They were living a life he envied. If you look at what the father of Kaylee Concave said, he's very upset because he believed no one is caring about these 4 young lives that were taken so soon, right as they were beginning their adulthood. The family of Madison Morgan spoke outside of the court, and they said through their attorney that this could be closure. They can move on and it's all right. But the father of Zana Kernodo is saying it's not all right, that they're not going to ever really know the truth. He did it, y'all. Oh, if I could hug their daddy, but he got a wife and she hugging him, and I don't want to be messing with nobody's husband. Okay, question. What were the reactions and emotions you could sense in the room when he admitted guilt? It was very tense in the courtroom, very tense but very silent. The media had been told not to show any emotion in the courtroom, and I wonder if the families were told because they were so intense. They were staring at Kohberger very strongly. They were staring at the judge very strongly. But I did not see actual emotion coming out of them except from Kaylee Concave's aunt. That's who I heard it was. She had a Kleenex. She was crying so hard, but it was silent. She wasn't making any audible sounds at all. When the prosecutor said, "We have still never found the knife, the murder weapon," I looked at Kohberger. I wanted to see if there was a reaction, because there's one person that knows where that murder weapon is, and it's him. There was no reaction to that. He didn't move a muscle in his face. When the prosecutor said, Kohberger never once looked at the courtroom, looked at the people in the courtroom. He was in a stoic gaze with no emotion whatsoever. It was just like he did this every day. When he had to take the oath, that as a sociopath, they have expressionless faces. When he had to take the oath that he would tell the truth, Kohberger jumped up and put his hand up. The judge said, "You don't have to stand up. I know you're trying to be respectful to the court, but you don't have to stand up." Question. After Kohberger is sentenced, what happened to the gag order that has kept the parties from speaking publicly? After sentencing, the case is over. So the judge has to lift the gag order because they have a First Amendment right to speak. The gag order was to preserve a fair trial before a jury for Kohberger. Both sides are now requesting a pre-sentencing report, which is normally done before sentencing. Sentencing is going to take place at this point on July 23rd. The prosecutors say they want to give all the family members a chance to speak. Prosecutor Bill Thompson choked up a couple of times, most notably as he was finishing his recitation of the facts, and said the names of the 4 victims. What did you make of that, and was there any significance behind the moment having covered the cases from the beginning? I've never seen him get emotional in any pretrial hearing. This is the first time, but a prosecutor has empathy for victims because although they represent the people, they indirectly represent the victims.
Stay tuned for EP3.
That's who they care about. Maybe it got to him at that moment, but I'm sure that some of the victims' family would say, well, if that is emotion there for those victims, as what we saw in court, why didn't you structure the plea deal so he had to provide some answers and tell us why he did this? I agree.